Hi everyone, this is Jeremy, and I want to take a minute and talk about one of my favorite security services, and that's OpenDNS. OpenDNS is a free utility provided by Cisco. There's a corporate version called Umbrella, but we're going to focus on the free version available for home users and a very easy thing to install by basically just changing our DNS settings. So with that in mind, we have a couple different options available to us. I usually recommend people sign up for the DNS Home free version. That's got the least disruptive settings out of the box, and then we can kind of tune the categories and some of the settings and get it all set up. Once you get signed into your new account, you'll see this setup screen. On the setup screen, we have the two name servers that OpenDNS publishes. So really, the short version of the setup is you're just changing your DNS settings to use these name servers. These two addresses are what's called Anycast addresses. So it's not just two servers. They actually have data centers all over the world resolving. So it'll be a very quick response regardless of where you are. Um, Ultimately, we really want to try and change this in your router because that will change the DNS settings for all the devices on your network. So if we go into home routers, we have a list of all the different home routers that we can configure. So hopefully the make and model of your router is here. Let's take a look at an older Linksys one as an example. And looking at the settings here, we're just going into the setup, into the networking setup, and we're going to change the DNS settings to match the open DNS addresses. Once we do that, our DHCP clients, or all the devices that connect to your home network, should now be using this for DNS resolution. Going back to that initial setup page, we have a click link, and you can click on this guy, and it's going to verify, hey, your internet's safer and faster because you're using OpenDNS. That's awesome. We can even go one further and check out their phishing site. And if I click on this phishing site, it's coming up and saying, hey, this was blocked because I know this is a phishing threat. So this is the dashboard once we get signed in. And the first screen we see says, getting started, we need to add a network. So that is basically going to tell OpenDNS who we are. And the request that we send up to the OpenDNS server will get associated to our account by our IP address. So I've highlighted my IP address up here. This is assigned to me by my internet service provider. And once I associate those two, all of the requests from my network will now go to my account. So any of the filtering that I set up, whether it's for phishing or malware or specific categories of sites, will be honored because that matches. So we see that my home network's been added. I just entered in the address. Up at the top of the screen, you can see what your current IP address is from the internet. So entered that in here, added that network, and now we have the home network. If I drill into this, we can actually see the filtering and how this is set up. So we have different filtering level options. Pornography is category in low, and then moderate gives us all adult related sites, legal activity, and high gives us video sharing, time wasting categories, social networking, all sorts of different things. All these can be customized. We can also add individual domains. And so I've added ksl.com and nascar.com as domains that we can test. So if you look at all these categories available, we see that security categories are intentionally left off. So we can drill into these security categories. And by default, we've got malware, botnet protection turned on, and phishing protection turned on. So domains associated with these types of threats will be blocked without any other action. So a couple other settings that are interesting while you're in your network in managing our home network is we have the stats and logs and advanced settings on the left-hand side. And we want to take a look at both of those. So if we want to get usage data, we'll want to enable stats and logs, and that will give us graphs and some recording as to what DNS requests are coming from our IP address. You can turn this off down the road, so if you decide that you do not want that information logged, and you can purge what has been logged. So if there's something you don't want recorded, we can get rid of that. I think it's interesting for research purposes for the most part. And on advanced settings, we want to click, and we also want to allow dynamic IP update. That will allow us to configure an agent on our network to keep the IP address of our home network up to date for OpenDNS. So we can do that with a Mac agent, a Windows agent. There's a configuration guide for a Linux agent. Basically, you just want to configure a computer or device that doesn't leave your house a whole lot. Because if you have like a laptop and that's going to a bunch of different locations, we don't want to be constantly trying to update OpenDNS with the address of the coffee shop or any other place that you might be working at, your cell phone if you're tethering, things like that. So jumping back to stats, if I go up here on the stats tab, since my account has been running for a bit, you can see that we have a big spike in activity from where I turned it on. And this is giving us an idea of which domains we're reaching out to, what record types. I can look at all the unique domains and kind of drill into all the different requests. There's quite a bit of information on here, so it's pretty interesting if you haven't looked at any of your network traffic before. So if I click over here on the support tab, you can see that we have knowledge base, some troubleshooting tools, as well as links to download the updaters for both the Mac and the Windows client. We also have some great troubleshooting tools over here, so we can see what is in the cache of the servers. We can see the system types of OpenDNS as a whole, and we can check a domain to see what category it's in. So checking a domain, we've got a bunch of different domains that we're able to actually vote on, and that's a pretty cool feature of this, is a lot of the verdicts are crowdsourced. We can submit domains on here and we can check a domain. So if I go and check NASCAR.com, we can see that it's been approved as news, media, and sports. Somebody submitted it as pornography, which is kind of funny, and that verdict was rejected. Automotive, it was also approved as. And adware is awaiting votes. And so we'll see that on a lot of bigger sites. Sometimes there'll be adware if there's a lot of advertisements coming on those sites. So we can see that I went to NASCAR.com, and it looks like Umbrella is working. It went ahead and blocked this site for me. If I don't believe that this has been blocked correctly with an end user, you can click on here, add my name, my email address, enter a quick message regarding why I think it should be allowed, and I'll go ahead and send that message. So we told OpenDNS about our network. We told our network about OpenDNS. We've adjusted some categories for content filtering. And then by default, we've protected ourselves from malware and phishing URLs by using the OpenDNS servers. If you had any stumbling blocks, check out support.opendns.com. A lot of great content up there, including advanced configurations such as DNS over HTTPS in Firefox and Chrome, as well as setting up the Linux client for auto updating.